I never thought cardboard could carry so much cruelty. Stacked in uneven towers by the hallway, taped with rushed anger, they looked like tombstones for everything I believed was permanent. My husband's coworker, Marissa, moved briskly from room to room, her perfume sharp enough to outlast the smell of dust stirred from folded sweaters, dismantled frames, and torn journals. She didn't belong here. This was my house, our house, yet she touched every surface as though she had the right to decide what stayed and what vanished. "I'm only helping," she said, sliding my photo albums into a box marked miscellaneous. The word itself stabbed me. How could memories, vows, and laughter be miscellaneous? My throat tightened, but I swallowed the protest. Pride was my last possession, and I refused to let her pack that too. According to her, my husband's family was coming to stay for an indefinite period. They needed space. They needed comfort. And apparently, I no longer qualified as part of that requirement. I wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. Me, evicted from my own marriage under the guise of hospitality, but the sound refused to leave my lips. Marissa's presence had always unsettled me. She was the colleague who lingered too long after office parties, who touched his arm during conversations as though she had forgotten her hands were attached to a body. I noticed everything, the subtle lean when they laughed, the way she remembered his favorite coffee order, but I forced myself into silence, telling myself suspicion was poison, not protection. Now, as she folded my blouses with mechanical precision, I felt the truth sharpening in front of me. She wasn't helping. She was claiming. "I didn't ask for this," I said finally, my voice thin, almost swallowed by the rustle of tissue paper wrapping glassware. "No one asks for change," she replied without looking at me, as if rehearsed. "It just comes. Sometimes it's painful, but necessary." Her calmness infuriated me more than shouting ever could. I wanted her to tremble, to show even the smallest hint of guilt, but she moved with serenity, like someone fulfilling destiny rather than trespassing on love. The boxes filled faster than I could process. Every item sealed away felt like another brick pulled from the foundation of my marriage. Still, I couldn't stop watching her. The curve of her neck as she bent forward, the flash of determination in her eyes, the delicate press of her lips when she concentrated. Hatred and fascination tangled inside me until I couldn't tell which one throbbed louder. When she brushed past me carrying a heavy box, her arm grazed mine. A shiver raced down my spine, betraying me with its honesty. The warmth of her skin lingered longer than it should have, and I hated myself for noticing. I stood frozen in the living room while she orchestrated the dismantling of my life. And yet, a dangerous thought crept in, uninvited. Maybe this was more than cruelty. Maybe she wanted me displaced, cornered, vulnerable, not because of my husband's family, but because she needed space for something else. Something between us neither of us dared to name. I shook the thought away, clutching my jacket as if fabric could anchor me. The clock ticked relentlessly, mocking the collapse of my certainties. I wanted my husband there, answering questions, defending choices, but instead I had Marissa, cool, efficient, merciless. That night, after she finally closed the door behind her, I sat among the boxes, unable to decide whether I had been exiled or seduced into silence. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Heart racing, I answered. "Don't believe her," a low voice whispered. "Nothing is what she told you." And just like that, the real unraveling began. The whisper echoed long after the line went dead. My hand trembled, phone still pressed against my ear though the screen glowed blank. I replayed the words again and again. Don't believe her. Who was her? Marissa? Of course. Who else could twist reality so confidently, so flawlessly, that even I doubted my own place in my home? I stared at the silent device, waiting for it to ring again, but silence pressed down heavy, like a blanket suffocating air. I wanted to dismiss the call as a cruel prank, yet every instinct screamed it was deliberate. Someone knew something I didn't. Sleep refused to come that night. I sat cross-legged on the carpet, surrounded by taped boxes, each one reminding me of absence. My husband hadn't returned my messages. He was working late, a phrase that had grown too familiar, too convenient. I tried convincing myself he was innocent, that Marissa's intrusion was temporary, that the phone call was just paranoia feeding off exhaustion. But then I remembered the graze of her arm, the way my skin betrayed me with longing. Morning arrived stained with doubt. I brewed coffee I couldn't taste and stared at the front door, half expecting her to appear again. And she did. Punctual, confident, wearing a fitted dress that seemed designed to provoke resentment. She carried more flattened boxes, her smile polite but sharp. "Still here?" she asked casually, as if I were the guest, not her. "I live here," I snapped, surprising myself with the edge in my voice. Her eyebrows lifted, amusement flickering. For now. I should have told her to leave. I should have demanded explanations from my husband instead of letting his coworker stage manage my eviction. But anger mixed with something else, curiosity, even attraction, and froze my protests. She walked past me, her perfume trailing like temptation, and I hated how my pulse quickened. I followed her into the kitchen. "Why are you really doing this?" She stacked plates into a box before answering. "Because he asked me to." The words stung, but I watched her mouth form them, mesmerized by the softness of her lips. She caught me staring. For a second, the air thickened between us. She smirked, almost imperceptibly, before turning back to her task. I tried to focus on the mysterious call, to press her for contradictions, but every question tangled with distraction. When she bent to tape a box, her dress shifted, revealing a glimpse of skin that made heat rise through me despite my fury. Was this deliberate? Did she know what she was doing to me? The phone buzzed again. My hand shot to it instantly, but this time it was just a message. "Meet me tonight. Park. Midnight. I'll explain." No name, just urgency. I shoved the phone into my pocket before Marissa could glimpse the screen. She straightened, studying me with unnerving precision. "You look pale," she said, voice almost tender. "Bad news." "Nothing you'd care about," I replied too quickly. She stepped closer, close enough that I felt the warmth of her breath. "Don't be so sure." Her nearness rattled me more than any anonymous call. I stepped back, heart racing, but my body betrayed me again, craving the very danger I swore to resist. By late afternoon, the house looked emptier, stripped of familiarity. Marissa left with a promise to return tomorrow, her gaze lingering too long at the doorway. I collapsed onto the couch, clutching my phone, replaying the words I'd heard at midnight. When the clock neared 12, I slipped into the night, each step toward the park heavy with anticipation, dread, and a secret desire I could no longer deny. The park was nearly deserted, shadows stretched long across damp grass, the lamps along the path buzzing faintly like insects. Midnight had always felt like a time for secrets, but tonight it pressed heavier, as if the entire city held its breath waiting for me. I pulled my coat tighter, scanning the benches. Empty. My chest pounded with every step, fear and anticipation wrestling inside me. What if the call was a trap? What if Marissa had orchestrated everything, the eviction, the silence, even this meeting, just to unravel me completely? Then, out of the dark, a figure emerged. Not my husband. Not Marissa. A man I didn't recognize, tall, shoulders squared, voice rough like gravel when he spoke. "You don't know me," he said, keeping distance. "But you need to hear the truth." My instinct screamed to run, yet curiosity rooted me. "Who are you?" "A friend," he muttered. "Or maybe just someone tired of watching lies destroy people." "He's not with his family. He's not working late. He's with her." The words cracked the night open. I didn't need to ask who her was. Marissa. My pulse quickened, fury and vindication burning together. "He's been with her for months," the stranger continued. "He told her you wouldn't leave quietly, so she's making sure you do. But you deserve to know, she's not doing this for him. She wants you too. Always has." The final sentence cut deeper than the rest. My breath caught. The stranger turned, melting into shadows before I could demand more. Alone again, I stood trembling under the flickering light. If he lied, why risk telling me anything? And if he told the truth, what did it mean that Marissa, my rival, my betrayer, wanted me as well? The memory of her closeness, her perfume, her smirk, all returned in a rush, stirring confusion I could no longer deny. I walked home, thoughts tangled like vines strangling reason. The house loomed cold, boxes stacked like barricades. And there, waiting at the door, was Marissa. Midnight, unannounced, calm as though she belonged. "You shouldn't wander alone at night," she said softly, brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. The gesture was intimate, protective even, though her eyes glimmered with something else. I swallowed. "Why are you here?" She stepped inside without waiting for permission. "Because you're unraveling. And I don't want to miss it." Her honesty, sharp as a blade, left me breathless. I should have screamed, should have thrown her out, but instead I watched her drop her purse on the counter like she owned the place. "You think I don't see the way you look at me?" she asked, voice low, dangerous. Heat surged through me, shame colliding with desire. I denied nothing, because denial felt useless now. She closed the space between us, inches apart, her perfume wrapping around me like smoke. "Your husband isn't the only one lying," she whispered. "You've been lying to yourself." My heart hammered, torn between rage and longing. The stranger's words echoed, "She wants you too." And in that moment, standing in the wreckage of my marriage, I realized temptation wasn't coming. It had already arrived, standing inches away, daring me to cross a line I swore I never would. The clock struck 1, boxes looming around us like silent witnesses. Marissa's eyes locked onto mine, waiting, daring, promising ruin and release all at once. And I couldn't look away. I told myself I wouldn't move. If I stayed perfectly still, maybe the ground beneath us would stop shifting, maybe my marriage wouldn't collapse completely, maybe temptation would dissolve back into suspicion. But Marissa knew patience better than restraint. She stood there, close enough for her warmth to seep through the air, waiting with that slight curve of a smile that mocked my hesitation. "You're shaking," she murmured. Her hand hovered near mine, not quite touching, but close enough to set every nerve on fire. "Is it fear, or is it something else?" I wanted to answer with anger, to spit out every accusation that had built inside me since the first time I saw her brush my husband's arm too casually. But the words tangled, caught in my throat. Because she wasn't wrong. It wasn't just fear. She tilted her head, studying me the way a painter studies an unfinished canvas. "You've spent so long fighting me, but look around." She gestured to the boxes stacked like walls. "What are you really fighting for anymore? A man who isn't here? Or the lie that you don't want this?" Her words were poison and medicine at once. My chest heaved, torn open by truths I didn't want to face. Every betrayal she embodied only made her more magnetic. I hated her. I wanted her. Both feelings clawed at me with equal hunger. When her fingers finally touched mine, just a brush, the spark was undeniable. I flinched, but not away, closer. She smiled, knowing the battle was already lost. "You feel it too," she whispered. I should have pulled back. I should have shouted. Instead, I let the silence answer for me. She stepped closer, and I could smell her perfume, warm and floral, intoxicating. Her hand lifted, trailing lightly along my jaw, and I leaned despite myself. The first kiss came not as an attack but as inevitability. Slow, tentative, then deepening until all my defenses crumbled. My mind screamed betrayal, but my body clung to her. Every ounce of rage I carried twisted into passion, every suspicion into fire. The walls I built for years cracked open under the weight of a single touch. When we finally broke apart, breathless, I staggered back, heart racing. "This is wrong," I gasped, though the tremor in my voice betrayed how much I wanted more. "Wrong doesn't make it less real," she said simply. Her confidence burned, while mine fractured. I paced between boxes, fighting to reclaim reason. But reason felt like a foreign language I'd forgotten. The stranger's words replayed, "She wants you too." And now I knew he was right. "Why me?" I asked finally, my voice small, almost desperate. Her eyes softened, the first hint of vulnerability I'd ever seen from her. "Because you see me," she answered. "Not just him. Not just a coworker. You've been watching me as much as I've been watching you. Don't pretend otherwise." The honesty sliced through me. Every stolen glance, every unspoken suspicion, every surge of anger that had secretly been laced with desire, it all made sense now. We stood in silence, the air thick with what we'd done, what we hadn't yet done, and what we could never undo. Finally, she whispered, "You don't have to decide tonight. But you already crossed the line. And lines don't disappear just because you wish them away." Her words lingered long after she left. Alone among the boxes, lips still burning from her kiss, I realized the betrayal wasn't just my husband's anymore. It was mine too. I barely slept after Marissa left. The taste of her lingered on my lips like a crime I couldn't wash away, no matter how many times I pressed water to my mouth. Morning light seeped through the blinds, harsh, unforgiving. My stomach churned with guilt, yet underneath, hunger pulsed, insatiable. When the front door creaked open, I froze. My husband walked in, tie loosened, hair disheveled, carrying the smell of whiskey and something sweeter, perfume that wasn't mine. He looked surprised to see me awake, as though he'd expected the house to be empty, boxes sealed, wife gone. "You're still here," he said, flat, unreadable. I forced a brittle smile. "Where else would I be?" His eyes darted around the half-packed rooms, avoiding mine. "Marissa said." I cut him off. "Marissa says a lot of things." The sharpness startled him. For a moment, he studied me as though trying to decode a language he'd forgotten. "I wanted to ask everything. Are you with her? Did you send her here to erase me? Did you choose her over us?" But the words knotted inside my throat. My silence wasn't protection anymore. It was complicity. He muttered something about meetings and deadlines before retreating upstairs. I listened to his footsteps, each one a hammer against the fragile floor of my composure. I wanted to confront him, scream until the walls cracked, but another voice whispered underneath, "What would you confess in return?" By afternoon, Marissa was back, punctual as always, her presence bold, unapologetic. She wore the same perfume clinging faintly to my husband's shirt. My chest tightened. She glanced at me knowingly, as if daring me to connect the dots. "Did he come home?" she asked, casually stacking boxes. "Yes. And nothing," I snapped. "He said nothing." She smirked, almost pitying. "That's because he doesn't know how to tell the truth. Unlike you." I fired back. Her smile deepened. "At least I don't hide what I want." The air thickened. My anger should have been enough to drive her out, yet I couldn't stop staring at her mouth, the memory of last night replaying like an addiction. She noticed, of course, she always noticed. "You're angry with him," she said softly. "You should be. But don't waste it on me. I'm not the one who lied to you." "No," I whispered, heat flooding my cheeks. "You're the one who kissed me." She stepped closer, eyes burning. "And you kissed me back." My heart lurched. The truth of it rang louder than my guilt. Every excuse I wanted to make crumbled under her gaze. The slam of a door upstairs broke the moment. My husband appeared, phone in hand, muttering about leaving for another, urgent meeting. He barely looked at me as he brushed past, but his hand lingered on Marissa's shoulder for a second too long. Jealousy cut through me, raw, sharp. Not just because he touched her, but because I wanted her to look back at me instead. After he left, silence filled the house, heavy and suffocating. Marissa sat on the arm of the couch, crossing her legs, watching me unravel. "You know the truth now," she said. "So what will you do? Pretend like him? Or admit what you feel?" I buried my face in my hands, torn apart by desire and betrayal. But when she touched my wrist, gently, almost tenderly, I didn't pull away. Because despite everything, I wanted her more than I wanted answers. The silence after my husband left felt like a wound, open, bleeding, raw. Marissa's hand still rested on my wrist, light as silk yet heavy with implication. I should have shaken her off, created distance, reclaimed dignity. But instead, I let the contact linger, savoring its forbidden comfort. "You don't have to keep pretending," she murmured. "I'm not pretending," I snapped, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. "Yes, you are." She leaned closer, her breath grazing my ear. "Every time you tell yourself you hate me, every time you glare, every time you fight, you're pretending. Because underneath, you want me. And now you can't unknow it." Her words burned like truth branded into skin. I opened my mouth to protest, but she silenced me with a kiss, harder than the first, deeper, stripping away hesitation. My hands clutched her waist before I even realized, pulling her closer, giving in to the fire that had been smoldering for months. And that's when the door opened. My husband stood frozen in the entryway, briefcase dangling from his hand, eyes wide with disbelief. The silence shattered into shards, piercing everything. For a heartbeat, none of us moved. Then his voice tore through the air. "What the hell is this?" I stumbled back, guilt slamming into me like a wave. Marissa, however, remained calm, lips curved in the faintest smile, as though she had been waiting for this moment all along. "You weren't supposed to come back so soon," she said, almost lazily. His gaze shot between us, rage boiling. "You," he pointed at her, trembling. "You've ruined everything." Marissa stood, unflinching. "No. I just revealed what was already broken." I wanted to speak, to defend myself, to scream that he had ruined it first, that his lies, his late nights, his perfume-soaked shirts had carved the cracks long before Marissa kissed me. But words failed. All I could do was stand there, chest heaving, torn between fury and freedom. "You disgust me," he spat, eyes locking on me now. The accusation cut deep, but strangely, it didn't destroy me. Because beneath the shame, something stronger stirred, relief. The mask had finally shattered. Marissa stepped between us, her voice steady. "She deserves more than your neglect. You never saw her." "I did." His jaw tightened, fists clenching. "You think you can just take her?" "She's not yours to keep," Marissa replied, unwavering. The air crackled with violence, words sharper than blades. I realized in that moment I had a choice. Not between right and wrong, because both had been lost long ago, but between chains and fire. "I'm done," I whispered. Both their heads snapped toward me. "I'm done pretending this marriage still exists. You chose her before I did. You chose work, lies, silence. I won't keep waiting for scraps." The words left me shaking, but they were mine. For the first time in months, maybe years, they felt like truth. My husband's face twisted with betrayal, but he said nothing. He slammed the door instead, footsteps fading into the night. Silence returned, heavier now, but alive. Marissa touched my cheek, her eyes no longer mocking but searching. "You'll hate yourself for this," she whispered. "Maybe," I admitted, leaning into her touch. "But at least I won't be invisible anymore." The boxes still lined the walls, but suddenly, they didn't feel like symbols of exile. They felt like beginnings. Messy, dangerous, uncertain, but mine. When Marissa kissed me again, it wasn't just lust or revenge. It was surrender. To her. To desire. To a future forged in ashes. And for the first time, I didn't care who got burned.